Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight was really billed as a premiere of this remarkable film, which tells the shenanigans, the insider dealing, the goings-on, the kinds of things that explain how exactly it came to be that Nelson Mandela, a man who maintained his principles, a man who refused to bow to those who wish him ill, a man who became a legend, an icon, on the one hand maintained that principle, but on the other hand was prepared to compromise. How was it that a number of individuals who refused to speak to each other, who saw each other as sworn enemies, managed to do a deal? You'll see that story tonight. But tonight isn't just about this film. We're going to celebrate a truly remarkable man. Nelson Mandela has lived an absolutely extraordinary life, 95 years. And if you look at the range of coverage over the past few days, even the Sun newspaper called him the president of the world. They weren't saying that 25 years ago. You're all here because you share in the spirit, I think. We're going to see a truly remarkable film. It's very difficult to get films like this made. It requires people with deep pockets, a vision, and a connection to Africa, especially when it comes to this kind of documentary. And I'm delighted to introduce a philanthropist, an industrialist, an Africanist. He's the man behind the African Oral History Archive. He's funded by the Ichikowitz family, and he is Yves Ichikowitz. Yves, please come forward.
On Thursday night, I hosted a dinner party at my home in Johannesburg. And just after 9 o'clock, I received a telephone call. It's rude to answer the telephone during a dinner party, so I ignored the call. After the caller repeated the call twice, I picked up the phone. It was a very close member of the Mandela family. And the voice on the other end of the line said to me, Yves, Tata has left us. And even though we were expecting this moment, and even though I'd had the privilege of saying my own personal goodbye a couple of months before, this news struck me like a physical blow. The blood drained from my body, and my shock was evident to everybody around the table. And as I related the news that I just received, every single person around that table, most of whom had never met Nelson Mandela, most of whom had no connection with him whatsoever, experienced exactly the same reaction. And I realized that in an hour's time, when this information would be released to the world, hundreds of millions of people on every continent throughout the globe would have the same reaction. It is remarkable that one man can touch so many lives in such a profound way. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here tonight not to screen a movie. We're here tonight to celebrate a life, to celebrate one of the most remarkable lives lived ever. The African Oral History Archive and the activities of my foundation have been inspired directly by Nelson Mandela. I had the privilege of knowing him over many years and knowing many of the people that were responsible for creating what we know as the new South Africa. Knowing many of the people who have created what we know as Africa today. And Nelson Mandela advocated that nobody could ever understand their future, nobody could ever plot their path to a prosperous future if they didn't understand where they came from. And it it was because of that that we started the African Oral History Archive. It's because of that that we started collecting these amazing stories of the remarkable people that all came together to make the African reality we have today. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to all rise. And I'm going to ask you to have a moment of silence in tribute to Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. And when you do this, I want you to think about his teachings. I want you to think about how you can apply these to your lives, and about how we can all collectively keep his legacy alive. Please rise. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the film you're about to see is one of many amazing stories that we've discovered in this journey. It's not the only story, but it is a remarkable story. I present to you Plot for Peace.
I'm delighted that this contribution to the African Oral History Archive was funded by a man you heard from a moment or two ago. He's here. He's waiting in the wings. He is Iva Ichikowitz. Iva, please come up and say. I'm delighted to have been here tonight to witness that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very privileged tonight to have in our midst a number of the protagonists in this film. Jean-Yves, I'd like you to join us up on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, in addition to Jean-Yves, we have a number of other protagonists in the house with us tonight. And I want to invite Michael Ledeen, each one of these individuals has gone way beyond the call of duty in making a difference to the world as we know it today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to introduce you to the crew that made this amazing production possible. I'd like to call Carlos Aguirre on stage, Mandy Jacobson, This project took many months longer than it was originally intended, because the story unfolded like an onion. And it's because of the generosity of all of these ladies and gentlemen, and because of the generosity of everybody else who were protagonists in this movie, that we were able to see this amazing story unfold. We're going to have an opportunity at the cocktail party later for all of you to engage with these amazing people. And to the press among us, I'm sure there'll be opportunities for one-on-one interviews and discussions. I want to thank you all most sincerely for spending this evening with us. I was to have been in South Africa at prayers at the Mandela family home, as was Jean-Yves, and we chose to be here tonight because I think that this tribute here in London, a place that was very close to Nelson Mandela's heart, was very fitting. And I'd like to thank you all very much for having joined us to pay tribute to this amazing man.